We're off to the wonderful world of the European Parliament, Brian, that bastion of probity. And so the first slide in this segment shows one of the people who's just been arrested unprecedentedly, who's a member of that parliament, the photogenic Eva Kaili, a socialist member of the European Parliament from Greece. Not just a pretty face, she has been a TV presenter, but she's also a master's student of international relations who did a hard degree first, architecture and engineering, like David Scott. Here she is in a slightly eyebrow-raising shot, talking to Ali bin Samih al-Marri, the Qatari Labour minister. She, at this point, was already one of the many vice presidents. There's one per political faction. One of the many vice presidents or deputy speakers of the European Parliament. This was on the last day of October this year in Qatar. She's been quite a lobbyist for Qatar, and that's what's got her into trouble. This footage is from the Belgian publication Nieuwsblad. Now, the headline here from another Belgian publication says that she was caught red-handed with a bag full of banknotes. Scandal with this among the socialists in the European Parliament. It is socialists in both Belgium and Italy who've been caught, but I'm not trying to make it party political. So we read here that Eva Kaili's domestic partner, who is a parliamentary assistant for another member of the European Parliament, an Italian one, has also been arrested. And the key kingpin here, we'll see in a moment, in a moment, and a photograph of him is Pier-Antonio Panzeri, a former member of the European Parliament, who seems to have been taking a lot of money from Qataris, and that's quite an eyebrow-raising claim. But now we're talking about the Belgian federal prosecutors having a raid done on these properties in both Belgium and their counterparts in Italy, and finding 600,000 euros in cash at Panzeri's house from Qataris, allegedly. From the Greek side, Eva Kaili's father arrived in Brussels and was arrested by the Belgians, having left a hotel room where some gentlemen had just been nice enough to give him a couple of €100,000 in a suitcase, which he left in the room. There's also a former prime minister of the French-speaking part of Belgium, Marie Arena, who is also a member of the European Parliament, who had her office searched. Those who are MEPs couldn't claim immunity because they were caught red-handed with money. So they were given their European equivalent of Miranda rights and interviewed with their lawyers in detention. And the president, the Speaker of the European Parliament, Roberta Metsola, had to fly back from Valletta to Brussels to oversee this procedure because Antonio Tarabella Mark Tarabella, a socialist member of the European Parliament in Belgium, had his house near Liège also searched, and that gets into areas of diplomatic immunity. So if we put the slide back on, we'll see a bit more of the Belgian news graphics that have illustrated what's going on. First of all, a tweet recently from Eva Kaili. She was bigging up the UN's labour organisation, the ILO, and saying that they regarded the Qataris as some of the best performers in the Gulf in terms of human rights standards. So she was calling on the EU to enforce new laws. She was particularly keen on lobbying for the Qataris to enjoy visa-free access to the Schengen zone. So here from another Belgian quality paper, De Standaard, this infographic shows that Panzeri, no longer an MEP himself, was allegedly the kingpin, that he used his wife and daughter on the right as mules for the money that he was allegedly getting from the Qataris, hence why they were arrested. Red dots indicate where lots of banknotes were found. Yellow dots indicate where there was a house search, and blue is people associated with the European Parliament, Eva Kaili, Panzeri, Marie Arena, Tarabella. So Italians or ethnic Italians in Belgium, and in one case a Greek, and their staff quite a lot involved as well. So here is Kaili, as I say, not the least attractive of European members of Parliament, and the Telegraaf in the Netherlands has got more on this. And here is Panzeri, the alleged kingpin, who has already in 2017 had to pay 84,000 euros nearly back to the European Parliament for problems with his claims. We also have Dutch journalists, in this case Hans van Willigenburg, noticing that Eva Kaili's strange voting behavior is already being invoked as a way of distancing her from others in the European Parliament. So he's reporting that people are already saying it was funny how she turned up replacing other members of her bloc to vote on things affecting Qatar, even though she wasn't a member of the relevant committee, and that she was hiding in an area at the back of the voting room, normally reserved for underlings, not for European Parliament members. So there we are, as the Dutch journalist here from Willigenburg says, this is the Operation Damage Control coming in. Here's what the raid looked like. The Belgian Federal Police, who, because they can't agree on Belgium's national language, use English in their insignia, have shown us all these lovely stashes of cash that have been recovered from all these addresses. And a blog called Unser Mitteleuropa has gone into detail on this and noticed there's time's too short to go into detail, but Eva Kaili has, as well as coming up through the ranks of her national party, the Socialist Party of Greece, PASOK, she's also been very well involved with people up to former Hungarian Prime Minister level, Gordon Boynai, in a George Soros think tank. He had to come in somewhere, didn't he? That's just one of the angles involved here. Another Dutch journalist, Alexander Bakker, has reported that there was a commotion in the press conference the day after this in the European Commission, not the European Parliament, separate organization of the EU, because the spokesman, according to Bakker, only allowed 2 questions to be asked by the journalist about these multiple arrests of members of the European Parliament. And he reports that Ursula von der Leyen herself decided to say more about this herself. It's pretty amazing what's gone on. The kingpin here, as I say, is Italian. There's reports of a villa having been bought for him and built for him in the Alps, and of 100,000 euros being paid by the Qataris for a family party. He is, no irony intended here, head of a charity in the swanky part of Brussels on the edge of the Parc de Bruxelles, just on the edge of the European quarter as well. And that NGO, which was reportedly raided as well to find where the cash was stashed there, that NGO is called Fight Impunity, if you could make that up. So Viktor Orban, the Hungarian Prime Minister, has tweeted out a couple of images bearding the EU about this. One of them is the famous 1981 Walter Cronkite, Reagan and George H.W. Bush shot of everyone having a guffaw. And in this version of the meme by Orban, it says, and then they said the European Parliament is seriously concerned about corruption in Hungary. He's also tweeted out the stash of cash with the slogan, this is the rule of law in Brussels. This is what the rule of law in Brussels looks like.